Hey, hey, this is the Michigan Maniac Podcast, and I am your host, Adam Brewer. And this is the big game pregame Iowa. Oh, yeah, by the way, it's the Big Ten title game. Ah, doesn't that feel good to hear? It feels great to say, I gotta say that. It feels great. But before we get into it, let's go ahead and do the little housekeeping. Guys, you can find me on all social media: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, uh, YouTube, all of it. Hit me up, do whatever. We'll talk. We'll have a good time. It's a lot of fun. Also, go to Apple Podcasts and iTunes. Same thing, I would imagine. And go ahead and leave me a 5-star review. And, if it's a good one, bad one, whatever, I might just shout you out if I love it. Okay, so we'll get moving to this new show. I mean, I've never done a Big Ten title game before. This is pretty amazing. I mean, what a difference a year makes, right? I mean, last year during Champions Week, which, by the way, I still think is a great idea, Champions Week. I love the idea of squaring off Big Ten West, Big Ten East, going at it, comparative schools with records, all that kind of stuff, while the Big Ten title game goes on that same week. I think it's fantastic. I don't know if they're doing it this year, but still, last year was going to be us in Iowa, and it is now us in Iowa to settle it for real. All right, no COVID, no nothing. This is for all the goodies, right? This is super exciting. But before we get into any of this, guys, also, you want a good listen? I did it the other day, and now it's painful to listen to me to a certain extent just because how sad I am. But you go back and you listen to the episodes, the game, the reaction episodes, the game, 2018 and then 2019, and then you pick up the game reaction episode this year. Amazing. I actually enjoyed listening to all three, and I normally can't stand my voice, really. I mean, a lot of people probably can't either, but who cares? And also, I noticed I probably curse a little too much, especially when I get angry. But anyways, outside of those two things, it was fantastic to listen to because you hear some of the growing concerns and then the complete and utter just devastation in my voice. And then when we finally get to this year, just the relief in some parts of it. It was actually 3 really good listens. I loved it. But then again, I love what I do, so what can I say? Anyways, so let's get into this one, right? This is it's a very interesting game. For a few reasons, really. One, Iowa always plays us tough. Now, there's a caveat to that, right? Because Iowa really, away from Kinnick, they're not that great. You know what I mean? They don't have that magic about them. They're great in the sense that they play really hard. They know their schemes. They will try and outwork you. They will try and do everything humanly possible to make up for the lack of maybe athleticism or talent they may have, the deficiency against who they're playing. So that's like the interesting part of who they are. But Kinnick gives them that bit of mysticism. Kinnick at night is probably one of the hardest places in college football to win. Absolutely hard. And that's the reason why I don't really see the comparisons that people are making between the 2016 team that went into Kinnick and lost when I think we were 24-point favorites, I think, and this one. I get the stakes are similar, right? But the team is different because, like I said, Iowa isn't the giant killer away from Kinnick as it is at Kinnick, and especially at night. So right there is the biggest. That's the biggest domino in all that, right? Is the Kinnick, the location. So I don't agree with that. I still think they're going to be they're a tough get. Like you to get them out to beat them. It's going to be tough. But like we've been saying all season long, this is a different Michigan team. If you've been watching any of the YouTube videos of the interviews with these kids, you notice That, they're like, beating Ohio State was something that we wanted to do. That was one of many goals. And if we don't focus, if we don't do this, then, just beating Ohio State wouldn't be enough, right? It's kind of what you get from these interviews, which is, I think, the absolute right frame of mind. And I know over the years we've heard other Michigan teams say that stuff, but this one has proven time and time again that when they say that they're different, when they say that they're focusing, that we need to not allow our PST or PTSD from past seasons affect our judgment with this team. So I think we need to give them the benefit of the doubt, and which I'm willing to do. I think Iowa provides a few challenges to us, all mainly on the defensive end of the ball, because if you look at Iowa's offense, they are absolutely putrid, boring. I mean, I think I've said this numerous times on many different episodes. I always say Wisconsin, Iowa are just the plays, or I pretty much lump in the whole West Division. Just play the most boring form of football ever. But Iowa is in my opinion, a less talented Wisconsin. Their running game is strong, but it's not as strong as Wisconsin. Petrus is immobile, just like Graham Mertz, but Mertz can throw the ball better than Petrus. So right there, it's still their wide receivers. Both teams don't have very good wide receivers, in my opinion. I think Iowa's got some young ones coming up. Both, I believe, are true freshmen. And they looked good against Penn State, I'll be honest with you. They did, but, I mean, they were down 17-3. And depending on who you talk to, because I can't remember, to be quite honest. I was so bored. But I can't remember if it was 17-3 or 17-10 when Sean Clifford got hurt in that game. Regardless, Sean Clifford stays healthy in that game. It doesn't matter if it's 17-3 or 17-10. Penn State was going to blow them out. And I mean, I think it was, let's say it's even 17-10. Like, that was 17-10. Iowa was still down, and I think they had already had like 2 to 3 interceptions in that game. Like, they needed 2 to 3 interceptions to even be down by 7 points. That gives you an idea of how bad Iowa's offense really is. Now, listen, you don't take them seriously. Any bad offense can beat you on any given day when you allow them to. One thing they don't do very well, and I guess they've kind of shored up lately, but let's face it, they're facing a defensive line and a front seven that they haven't seen all year long. The best front seven they played to this date is probably Penn State, I would say. Penn State has a... Oh, and then Minnesota's actually pretty good, but they barely beat Minnesota. I think they won like, I don't know, 27-24 or some. I mean, it was close. And then they get blown out against Wisconsin, and those are the two best defenses I think they played next to Penn State. But the front seven, they've not faced anybody with the pass rush that we have. They haven't played Heisman hopeful. And let's face it, if Aiden Hutchinson puts together a game like he had against Ohio State, against Indiana, in Iowa in the Big Ten title game, dude, he might have locked up the Heisman at that point. Iowa hasn't faced anybody like that. So you're coming up with a decent offensive line that doesn't do pass blocking very well, can't stop the sack. Then you come up with an immobile quarterback. Petrus maybe has, I think his longest run of the season is 7 yards, and that was for a touchdown. And I think he was shocked he ran for 7 yards. But so you mix an immobile quarterback with an offensive line that can't really stop teams from sacking the quarterback. I think they've given up, 30 sacks on the season. 30 sacks. They've given up 30 sacks on the season. It's not that is not a great recipe for success when you're going up against David Ojabo and Aiden Hutchinson, right? It just isn't. So I would assume you're probably going to see a lot of runs up the middle. You're going to probably see a lot of the screenplay. They're going to try and go with tempo as much as Iowa can go with tempo, because if they don't, they're screwed. Because I mean, a slow-paced Iowa team only plays, I think, even further into the hands of our defense. So I have zero faith in Iowa's offense to do anything really. Uh, but obviously, we need to take them seriously. Now, their defense presents a couple interesting challenges, I think. Vandenberg, I think his name is, or Vel Vandenberg, or some baloney name. He's their best lineman, or their best defensive. I think he's a lineman. He gets pressure. I think he's got like 6 to 7 sacks on the season, which is impressive, not bad. Those are Josh Uche numbers, in my opinion. But so he can present problems. I mean, they're interesting in the run. I mean, they haven't really faced. See, this is the whole thing about Iowa, though. They haven't really played anybody great, a great running team. Like even Penn State, not a great running team. They played. Let's see, who else? Indiana, not a great running team. Northwestern, not a great running team. Decent, but not great. Nebraska, pretty good, but not great. Maryland, not a great running team. Wisconsin, good running team. And they played Minnesota, good running team. And in both of those games, both of those running backs for each team had over 100 yards rushing. So if Wisconsin can rush for over 100 yards, if Minnesota can rush for over 100 yards, and I think Minnesota ran total close to over 250 yards against Iowa. And those were the two good rushing teams they faced all season long. So if they didn't face Ohio State, they didn't play Michigan State, and I mean, hell, they even played Purdue, and Purdue beat the life out of them, and they don't have a very good running game. So their run defense is suspect. It's good against bad teams, right? They can be exposed against good teams. Their pass defense is opportunistic at best, I would say, because I think they have 2 or 3 different defensive backs that have over 5 interceptions each, which is impressive. I think they have something like, let me look, 22 interceptions on the year. 22 interceptions. That's impressive. I mean, that is the one thing you did notice when I saw any of the few Iowa games that I watched this year, is that they are very, very opportunistic. Now, they have to be, or they wouldn't have won 5 games this year, right? I mean, Iowa State, they got outgained by Iowa State. I think they had a total of 175 total yards or something ridiculous like that. It was embarrassing, but they had 5 interceptions or something crazy. Maryland, they had 5 interceptions or 5. I mean, they're so good at creating the turnover. So now Michigan, which also I think plays to our strength, because Cade McNamara isn't known for throwing bad passes or putting himself into position to make bad passes or get through interceptions. I think he has 3 on the season. 3 on the season. Also, Iowa has 24 sacks as a team, right? Our offensive line doesn't give up very many sacks. I think McNamara's maybe been sacked 5 times this year. 5 times this year, giving up 3 interceptions. So our strengths in these areas are their strengths. So I'm interested to see which one cancels out what. But with our high-quality running game now, with a 3-headed monster, probably, I doubt you keep Blake Corum out of this game just because he's going to be so hyped to play in a Big Ten title game. But so you have 3 really good running backs, where you can have a matchup of Blake Corum with McCarthy at quarterback, and then you could even have Donovan Edwards in the slot. I mean, we have too many weapons that are coming on just at the right time, with our play caller really just hitting his stride. I don't see this as a close game. I see, like I think of all games with Michigan. I think it's close at the beginning. I think you're looking at maybe like we could be up 17-7 or 14-7 going into halftime. And then Michigan continues just to lean on you, and they keep hitting you in the mouth. They keep getting 4 to 5 yards per carry. They hit you with like 2 to 3, 7 to 10 to 15-yard passes, and then all of a sudden it just everything breaks loose, everything breaks down for Iowa, and Michigan shockingly wins 38-17 or 38-10. You know what I mean? It's going to be something like that. Or Michigan could just do what it did to Maryland and just beat the piss out of them. I just think our defensive backs have played one of the best games they've played all season long against Ohio State. They could probably get opportunistic themselves, which is classically not Michigan. But DJ Turner has, 2 interceptions this year? He could probably get one on Petrus. Petrus doesn't seem to make... he's very gun shy for some reason, and I don't know why, but he seems to be. I don't know. They bore the life out of me. I'll be honest with you. I was really excited to watch the Penn State Iowa game, and I after Sean Clifford got hurt, I couldn't watch it. It was mind-numbingly boring. So maybe that's how Iowa pulls out a shocker if Michigan doesn't take them seriously, is that they bore us to sleep. And, Aiden Hutchinson's just asleep on the ground. I really, for the life of me, I don't see how Iowa can beat us unless Michigan shows up and doesn't take this thing seriously, which I don't see it happening. Now, anything can happen, right? And I'm not trying to jinx us. Anything can happen, so I think Michigan's going to take them seriously. I think, to be quite honest with you, I think if Michigan hops on them, jumps on them early, I think you can blow Iowa out. Because just like Purdue did. Purdue jumped on them and then just slowly just boom, 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 and just kept adding points. And I think before you know it, at halftime, it could be a, 35-10, rout if Michigan hops on them early. They get a few key plays. I don't know. I'm just very excited for this. I'm very excited. I'm very nervous. Because I'm a classic Michigan fan in that this seems like the most Michigan thing to do is to beat Ohio State in such amazing fashion, get the national media on our side, get everything rolling our way, and then we fuck it up somehow, right? That is a classic Michigan thing to do, even though I don't believe we're going to do that. I just sharing my PTSD with you as how I feel my team is or has been, and it's completely unfair to do that to this team, and I get it. Because then I start thinking, oh my God, how great. We beat them, and what if we beat their ass and then say Alabama beats Georgia? Do we get to be number one? And then how does that play out? Do we play Cincinnati, or do we play Notre Dame, or do we play Georgia even? How does this all play out, it is a realistic thought now that if we continue to play at the high level we've been playing, we could be playing for a national title. Just let that sink in for a second. We could actually be playing for a national title when no one in their mother ever gave us the chance to do it. From unranked to begin the season, with the majority of Michigan media counting them out. I have to re-listen to my episode, but I think I landed on 9-3 or 10-2. I can't make up my mind if I went with us losing to Penn State, Ohio State, and Wisconsin, or if I was just like Wisconsin and Ohio State. I can't remember, but people call me a homer anyway, so and I'm fine with it. Whatever. But we're literally, we get into the playoff, and that's the beauty about a 14 playoff. It's only 2 games. You win 2, you're the national champ. You're the national champ. It's amazing. So anything can happen, man. Georgia is dominant. They have a crazy good defense. I think they've maybe allowed a total of 80 points all season long. Like combined, I think it's 80 points. Um, that's kind of impressive. I mean, but they did struggle against Clemson, but that was at the beginning of the year. Uh, but as we learned with Ohio State, once you show a weakness, just because you're able to play teams where you can hide that weakness doesn't necessarily mean you fix the weakness, right? So whatever their problems were with Clemson at the beginning of that season or this season where they won 10-0, I think, or 10-3 or something like that, whatever that was their problem there could still be their problem. They just haven't played anybody good enough to expose it again. I mean, they have an amazing wide receiving core. They have running backs that no one really hears about, but if if you don't pay attention to them, they will hurt you. And they have a tight end that really is a wide receiver, just playing tight end. That kid I know is really good. I've seen that guy play, and it seems like every time I've ever seen a Georgia game this season, that kid always has 2 to 3 big plays. So I don't even know his name, but I know he's good. Before we get out of here, though, I'll get to the key players of the game and all that kind of stuff in a second. But if I can push another podcast real quick, and I think it's just the Wolverine podcast, right? Everybody knows it's a staple of the Wolverine community, right? But they have Doug Skeen and some other dude have on Chris Hutchinson, Aiden's dad, and just listen to some of the insight on what Chris had to say about his son. And me having my own son, it is, I don't know, it makes you feel good, listening to how a father, talks about his kid and just how he refers to him, and just the overall how Aiden has gotten better, or was he good enough to even play, and all this just other stuff that most of us probably already know. But to hear it from the father's mouth, it was really something I enjoyed. And then him recant the story of Aiden going up against which one was it? One of the tackles for Ohio State, and just how he's yelling at him, "I'm coming for you, big fella. I'm coming for you," or whatever. And I don't want to ruin the story. You guys listen to it, because I would love for you to hear it out of his mouth, out of a father's mouth about his son. It's just, I don't know. I really enjoyed it. I love the fact that Aiden is just such a beast, and we've been very lucky to have him this season. And I feel very, I don't know, very blessed and very just happy to be a Michigan Wolverine at this point. And it's. And I love that. That family is just adorable. When you see him on the sidelines and they're cheering for him, or in the crowd, and him talking to his father after the game, and I don't know. It was just fantastic. I really, really enjoyed it. So with that, let's get into the keys of the game, right? The number one key is for Michigan's offense and defense not to fall asleep with how boring Iowa is as a team, and their offensive schemes or even thought processes. All of that is just bores the hell out of you, so it's important not to fall asleep. 2, offensively, we need to ball security. We need to not throw any interceptions, because Iowa's very opportunistic, so eliminate any of the turnovers. We need to establish the running game, because, like I said, they have a decent run defense, is 38th in the nation, right? And they average about 210 yards per game. But that's the thing, though. Like I told you, they've only played 2 really good rushing teams, and both of those teams both their running backs had over 100 yards rushing. So I think it's one of those same things with Ohio State, where they're like, "Oh, well, Ohio State has just been shutting down the run, and their pass rush is just so amazing." Well, yeah, because Ohio State by halftime, most of the time, is on teams like 35-7 or 49-7. So yeah, you can be an amazing run team when all you have to do is really face a good, hearty rush for about a quarter, and then most of the time the other team is trying to play catch up because they're so far down uh, in the score. So of course you're going to have great pass rush numbers because that other team's got to pass all the time. So it just increases the numbers. So that's the thing. I think this is all smoke and mirrors with how good Iowa's run defense is. Now I could be wrong, but everything I've seen from this and the numbers I've seen, and I mean it just seems like the most logical conclusion, right? Is that Wisconsin had a great rushing day, Minnesota had a great rushing day. But they stopped the teams that couldn't really run the ball very well. Shocker, you stopped Penn State from running the ball well. Oh my God, what an amazing run defense you had. You stopped Penn State and Northwestern and Maryland. Whoa, boy, you guys are amazing. You're the you're the 85 Bears. You know what I mean? I think that's just what it is. So I think we need to establish the run like we always do. Eliminate turnovers, and we should score 38 on this team. Also, on defense, just pressure. Again, do the same thing that we did to Ohio State. If we do that, I don't see any problems. I really don't. If Aiden Hutchinson, because I really do believe it's going to look more, if we get the same kind of pressure and the same kind of effort, it's going to look more like the Penn State game in the fact that Petrus is going to be getting up off the carpet more and more, and he's just not going to want to play. Petrus is nowhere near as good as Sean Clifford. He's not as mobile as Sean Clifford, and I don't think he's as dangerous as Sean Clifford. So I think if we get to him, rattle him, knock him down a few times, I don't think there's going to be any problem. I mean, like I said, their running game is good, but it's not fantastic. So as long as our linebackers don't get exposed and they run gap, they do all the things they're supposed to. Like, I don't see us losing. I really don't. Players of the game, obviously, I'm just going to go with Aiden Hutchinson because I really wanted him to cement the at least his invitation to New York, and hopefully with at least 3 sacks, again, he could be looking at a Heisman. So I want that. So I'm going to Aiden Hutchinson on defense, and I'm going to go once again with it's very boring picks, but I'm going to go with Hassan Haskin as the main dude because I think we're just going to do the same game plan that we've done to everybody else. We're going to establish the run. We're going to see if you can handle it, and when you can't, we're just going to continue to ram it right down your throat, and we're going to look at you and say, deal with it. I don't think there's any reason to pass the ball because of one, Iowa is very opportunistic and they have very good defensive backfield. So I think, if anything, once we start ramming the ball down their throat, we may hit them up with some play action, maybe a couple swing passes out from the side, like wheel routes and that kind of thing, so that you're not necessarily one-on-one with any of the DBs, and you're going to have some linebackers in that. So I think that's what we'll do. And I think we're going to win. I really do. I think we're going to win 38-10. That's my guess. 38-10. We're going to win our first Big Ten title game. I think it's going to be convincing enough. I mean, we're going to stay top 4 anyways. But yeah, Aiden and Hassan finishing out the season, or I guess we're finishing out the season. We're in conference title game season now, and we're actually effectively, I guess you could call it the college postseason. So they're going to start off the college postseason with amazing efforts once again, and we'll see where it takes us. Guys, I am going to have a Ask Me Anything on Friday, and so get your questions in now, all the way up till Friday morning. I don't care. So we'll do a Ask Me Anything on Friday, and then let's see. I think that's it, guys. I'm going to be in Phoenix, so some of these might be a little bit late. And then I hope to have the reaction episode out by Sunday, because I will be out doing things, so I won't necessarily have everything ready to go. So, I don't know. This is a great episode, guys. Fantastic. I think we're going to be amazing. I think we're going to have fun. I think this is going to be one hell of a day for us, and it's a well-deserved, hopefully a well-deserved Big Ten title. So it is great to be a Michigan Wolverine. It really is. It is fantastic. And each and every day since we beat Ohio State, it just seems to get better. It just seems to me even more realistic that everything has changed and we are on our way to making some noise nationally. And that only happens if we can beat Iowa and then the next game and just really start to show the nation that we aren't just lucky or fluky, but this is an actual team that was meant to do this. So it's great to be a Michigan Wolverine, and always and forever, guys, go blue.